All right, everyone. We know that your New York Liberty no longer undefeated. Let's talk about that game in Indiana and what this means for the Commissioner's Cup, and of course, their quest for another championship. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Gotta get up. Hey, women's basketball fans! Welcome to Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, brought to you by Black Rosie Media and hosted by Erica L. Ayala. Hey there, Liberty fans. Welcome to another episode of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. Erica L. Ayala here. Hey, what's going on, Daniel? We always appreciate you stopping in to say hi. And we are expecting Brian Fleurantin to join us. But the New York Liberty no longer undefeated. Came up against just a really great Indiana Fever team, and Caitlyn Clark went berserk in that game. But Brian is in the green room, so to speak. Let's bring in my co-host, Brian Fleurantin. How we living, homie?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. I am coming from the new headquarters of Black Rosie Media. So bare wall, I've got that little, adult push cart, like the radio flyer of old. This is, what the elder millennials now push around at the beach, but still getting everything sorted here. But we're so grateful. Ooh, actually, got to change my microphone. Should set better, hopefully. But yeah, I had to bring back some of the championship confetti. I don't think I showed this on the podcast.
But, I don't think so.
Yeah. These are, the little bag tags that they give us. These are the ones from all of the games at Barclays Center. And then some of the streaming championship confetti. So we're going to keep this in headquarters here. But Brian, undefeated no more. I already made that joke once this week, and now I'm on the other side of it. We talked about the Seattle Storm giving the Minnesota Lynx their first loss, and now New York Liberty suffer their first loss. What stood out to you in this game just overall, Brian?
I would say I watched it back on Sunday because I was traveling during the game on Saturday. So I was like, I just wanted to really sort of take a beat, take my notes on everything. They left a good amount on the table after halftime. I want to say they missed like 7 free throws. Like they did a good job getting to the line, but when you're leaving the table, that leaves you shorthanded. Something that Sandy mentioned in postgame that I noticed on the rewatch is that they didn't really sort of like press the attack Caitlyn Clark button enough. And a great example of that was that I want to say it was the second possession of the game. Kennedy's bringing it up the court. Like she has Clark on a one-on-one. So like the floor is completely spaced out. She drives to the basket, gets a layup and draws a free throw. And they didn't really do much of that the rest of the game. It was more like scoring 88 points is good, and there was good process for much of the game, but those paint opportunities weren't present after halftime. They weren't really able to sort of fully capitalize on switches. Like they were able to like get sort of Lexi Hall switch on the stew in the middle of the court, but they didn't really sort of like capitalize in the way that they needed to. A few possessions lost, like second chance opportunities, losing a rebound out of bounds, just small things like that tended to add up. And then it's a situation where you're on the road with a really hot crowd, especially seeing their star player come back. Like that gives the home team an extra boost. And that I think, especially in the fourth quarter, when the reserve unit for Indiana really made their run, it's like the crowd just gave them that extra bit of push to get to the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the statistical categories, there wasn't much that you could look at a box score and be like, oh, this was the difference in the game. At least, from the team perspective. Again, Caitlyn Clark went off for, I think it was 32 points, but Sabrina Ionescu had 34. But I mean, there were also things like bench points, 20 for Indiana, 12 for the New York Liberty. And so I think you're right. It was just where we've seen this team this season, Brian, be able to execute even when they're not playing their best. They didn't have that this game. And it wasn't necessarily playing flustered. It was just playing like like they were downshifted and never could, ramp up the gear is almost what it was like. It was like New York Liberty light,
Yeah, I have to cross reference, and I might have to track it by hand. But they missed a fair amount of open 3-pointers. I think on the broadcast, I think Andrea Carter mentioned that they missed like 11 open threes in the first half, and
Yeah.
they were getting good looks. And then I saw in the post game, the only two players on the team to make 3-pointers were Sab and MJ, and usually like Kennedy Burke hadn't missed a three in like 2 weeks, so she had gone cold. Like they got open looks elsewhere, but they just weren't able to capitalize. So I think for New York, it's a situation where you're getting those quality looks, but the result wasn't there. It was I wouldn't sort of attribute it too much to bad process. I would say for them, it's a matter of when a team is switching as heavily as Indiana does, can you get into the paint a little bit more?
Correct.
It's like so if Lexi Hull is getting switched on the Stewie, can you sort of cross Stewie closer to the cup so she can post up with everyone sort of spaced out to get more opportunity? I think that's a problem that cleans up when JJ comes back. So I do think it'll be interesting to sort of see how they try to like create more space within the flow of an offense, especially when a team is really sort of like playing physically and trying to jam them up in that way. So I think this is a good sort of like put it in the memory bank kind of game for New York, and they could just sort of like go back like when they see Indiana again in July. The context is going to be a little bit different because presumably everyone on both teams is going to be there and 100%. So we'll sort of see what the adjustment looks like when they see them again in July, and then for going forward, I want to see, okay, can you get your way into the paint more when defenses are really sort of jamming you up, or if they're going smaller and you can't capitalize, what does it look like for you guys?
Yeah, I think that they fell in love with taking the 3-pointer when it wasn't there, instead of getting a bucket when they needed a bucket. I think that was the difference there. Sabrina Ionescu was 4 for 10, I believe. Tough night offensively for Natasha Cloud. 12% from the floor, just 1 of 8, 5 points overall. That's not going to happen very often. Kennedy Burke, just the 3 points. And again, not only missing Jonquel Jones, but also missing Leonie Fibish, who I don't think has been like, I don't think her numbers have offensively have been gaudy, but it was noted on the broadcast. You talked about 3-pointers. She shoots 40%, from 3. The New York Liberty were not at 40% in this game. Actually what was the 3-point percentage? 20.7%.
Yeah.
Comparative to 48.6, nearly 50% for Indiana. But I mean, a good game for Caitlyn Clark. And early in the game, we were talking in the Slack channel. I mean, she was gassed. She was being placed into rotations in spurts. And you could tell that she was definitely still working through burn in her lungs, getting her fitness back to playing not just a complete WNBA game, but a game of this caliber. But she looks solid and is everything, that this Indiana Fever squad kind of needed from her. Because what I've been saying and where I think Caitlyn Clark, the untapped potential as of yet in the WNBA, I think we saw glimpses of that, where she is a prolific facilitator. And when you have someone that's draining, 3 logo threes in 45 seconds on the top team in the league, and can also, some of those passes were just, she made some beautiful passes. Caitlyn Clark ended with how many assists? 9 assists. And just reading the defense very smartly. We knew from the first matchup, Brian, that the rotations and the switches on defense were going to be a little bit problematic for the New York Liberty. I don't think they did very well with that, even with Jonquel Jones in the game. Leonie Fibish got a little injured in that game, the first game, so we didn't see much of her. I do think Leo helps with that a little bit, but for me, it was just a little bit of a lack of communication. We did also see that Sandy Brondello had Brianna Stewart on Caitlyn Clark for a while there. I did like that. And that really, again, allowed Caitlyn Clark to get in her facilitator bag. Because if you're taking her shot away, then you also have to have everyone else really tight defensively. Because again, she's got great court vision. And, I think her facilitation ramped up later in the game once we saw Stewie guarding her.
Yeah. One of the things I liked about her game also is, do you remember back in the 2024 National Championship game against South Carolina, where it was just if the threes weren't there, she just sort of like forced her way into the rim, even though there were like three defenders just sort of sitting in her lap when she got there, and the mid-range area was just completely just left untapped, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did like in Saturday that she's taking those mid-range jumpers, she's taking those floaters, and I think for star players, the bit is you have to use the entire court because defenses are so sort of geared up to prevent those rim attempts to really sort of like close out on those threes. So if you're able to use that in between and use it in a way that's super effective and efficient for yourself, it really allows your complete potential to show. It's funny enough, it's people yelled at Chrissy Sides about this last year, but she was right when she said, I want her to take more mid-range jumpers because it's there. Like I want her to take open shots. And for a player who shoots like she does, being able to use the entire court really opens up even more for her. And she's adept at finishing at the rim. She's adept at drawing contact. And she can do those things really well. So if you're able to use the entire court, it really sort of allows her even more room to operate and work with. So I think for her, that's a great sign that she's been able to really sort of like build that strength, really add that sort of like aspect to her game, if you will, and really allow her to get more done. Because I think, especially threes, like playoff basketball, threes are so hard to come by. Like we were in the building where no one can make a jump shot for like 20 minutes, and it was like a rock fight. Like these playoff games are going to be rock fights. And if you're able to get to your spot and make something happen there, even when the game is completely slowed down and the physicality is turned all the way up and you're not getting any calls, like being able to do that is really going to allow Indiana to go where they want to go if everything breaks right for them.
No, I think you made an excellent point there. And again, it's just you see the evolution of Caitlyn Clark. So many people were, and I think this was one of my gripes with, her transition into the league last year. It's like she's going to win MVP in her first year, even her second year. That's no, it's not going to happen. Like it's not going to happen. She got votes last year. She'll get more, and I think rightfully so this year. But, in a world where you still have Jonquil Jones, Nafisa Collier playing at the clip that they are, even Asia Wilson, we know, she's been out. If you read the Women's Basketball Roundup newsletter, she's been out with in concussion protocol. But, I think that what I know about Caitlyn Clark is that she continues to evolve, and we saw it even last year. So, but there's someone else on the court that I keep telling y'all keeps improving. I keep telling y'all is going to have a good season. I think it's a little bit, it's not as aggressive and blatant as I thought so far, but Sabrina Ionescu had 34 points in this game.
Yeah, something that I really liked, I didn't get to ask Stewie about it today. Something that, like, we talk a lot. I know we have on the show in particular about her defense and like how it's gotten better. Something that's subtle, but wasn't that won't really sort of pop out is that she was really doing a good job on help defense. Like there were a couple times where Aaliyah Austin would get it on the short roll, and then Sab is immediately there with the nail help, and then able to get back to her defender, really sort of like jam up fever possessions in that way. Like I think things like that matter so much because it shows the level of focus and dedication to improvement is getting there. And it shows that she's able to sort of like work within the flow of the defense and not sort of be a weak link or someone that's like, asleep off the ball where she's getting beat back door, late tailing off, like late getting to a screen, anything like that leads to open shots. It's a consistent improvement. And I think for Sab, she's someone that does take a lot of like the coaching to heart where it's like, okay, I want you to get better at this. Like she does it. she's very malleable in that way. It also plays into why she's such a good guard screener. Like that's something that Stewie was talking about with us too, just about how basketball has evolved. Like guards are setting more screens, bigs are handling a lot more. Things are sort of inverted in that way. And I think for Sabrina, being that good guard screener, being someone that does pay attention on defense, someone that can occasionally be the low man on a pick and roll when a big is rolling to the basket. She can come up and do that coverage. Like it's little things like that add up to a really all around player for me. And I think that part is the part where I'm like, okay, good job. Like good job. Keep at it. You got another tough matchup ahead. Let's see how you keep building on this.
100%. I think that Sabrina was great in this game. I think she still has another level where she can ramp it up and take her game to the next level. I think that when you see, Natasha Cloud maybe struggle to find the right impact in a game, what I want to see Tosh Cloud in a game like that do is commit, sell herself out completely in facilitating for Sabrina. Because again, Sabrina Ionescu had 34 points, and I think there were times where the New York Liberty settled for a shot when if they had gone through their offense, they might have been able to circle back and find Sab. And I think that you have to, as the lead guard, the point guard, the one, I want, especially on a night where it's it just wasn't Tasha's night. That's going to happen, but that's your role, right? Is to then do everything you can, give 100% of the gas you have in your tank to finding the person who does have the shot. And that comes from her moving, not just without the ball, but specifically with the ball and getting the rest of the team to move as well. Because I keep telling y'all, jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle. Stewie was doing what she needed to do defensively for the most part. It wasn't my favorite matchup, I'm not going to lie, having her on Caitlyn Clark, but I've already kind of mentioned why. I think because without Jonquel Jones, then you really don't have a rim protector, and they were exposed to an extent there. But yeah, you got to jingle jangle, but not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. I think I was more mad in the moment. Well, there were two things. One, there was a lot of references in the Slack that I just wasn't prepared for on a day where millions of people were marching against the government. Like I just was like, I just don't want to hear certain terms today. And I was pretty bullish about that. So I apologize to our Slack community, but I was like, skirt, we are not doing this. It was just not the right matchup for that day for me. On a very personal note, I was like, let's not add any extra flavor or lack thereof to this. Okay, to this day, I just need it to be basketball. I just need it to be basketball. I don't know why they chose Indiana for this day of all days, but here we are. No, I mean, the opportunity to go undefeated at least one more game than Minnesota, yeah, I would have liked that. The opportunity to not lose an undefeated streak to the Indiana Fever, yeah, I would have liked that. And I mean, I really don't. And then I already mentioned the other stuff. Other than that, I really don't feel any kind of way about this loss.
Yeah, something that I wrote about in the newsletter like last week is that national TV games always tend to drive the narrative around the team. Where it's like if you look bad on national TV, that's going to be the discussion surrounding you. And it's like sometimes it can be right. Other times it could be like, guys, it's just one loss, relax. Like take a deep breath. We good. Like because some of the discussion after the game, like this is where like I have to like not put too much credence on social media where it's like, oh, they exposed the Liberty, so to speak. I'm like, guys, nah, not really. No, like there's stuff Indiana did really well, things that I like that they did. Like Boston was really solid. Like she didn't shoot well, but she did everything else well, and that's what I want for my big. Like her passing was really good again. Like Lexi Hull, another good outing for her. Like there's a lot of positive for Indiana.
Lexi had great minutes. Sydney Colson had some great minutes.
Yeah, like, there's so much there. And like I read Sabrina Merchant from The Atlantic in her power rankings talked about Indiana's small ball lineup. And I'm like, okay, I really want to like now that if you let some people tell it, the world has resumed now that Indiana's point guard is back. Now that the world has returned.
Didn't you know, Brian? The WNBA was on the brink of bankruptcy if Caitlyn Clark didn't play in that Mickey Mouse game, as you sometimes say, the Mickey Mouse Network.
Yes, the mouse is satisfied. The mouse has been fed. Discourse will be had. People who don't really follow can come back now because the world has returned.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, some of that is wild. I will say, we talked about this a little bit, but the other part of this game, of course, Brian, was the implications on the Commissioner's Cup. And we haven't really talked too much about the Commissioner's Cup, and I should say, and the organizations that the different teams will be playing for, because there is a philanthropic piece of this. And so you can see them listed here under leaderboard. The New York Liberty, their organization, I can't remember what here we go. So they are playing for Girls for Gender Equality, intergenerationally, through Black feminist lens, a center of leadership of Black girls and gender expansive young people of color. Very much in the spirit of Black Rosie Media. We love to see that. But, and definitely please do check out the organizations. I will say Las Vegas came under some heat for theirs. But this is not a podcast for the Aces, so we're not going to get into that too much. Go ahead.
Can I do a quick Can I do a quick detour on that?
Go for it.
So on the Sunday when we started finding out who the organizations were, I was sitting on press row, and like I saw that organization, and I let out a loud "What the?" And like Lucas, he's like, "Yo, what?" And then I showed him. He was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah." That's a pod for you guys who want to know more about that. Look for your friendly neighborhood Las Vegas Aces podcast.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, but YWCA, lots of ACLU, Urban League, right? Seattle Storm, I believe, with the Urban League of Urban League Metropolitan Seattle. But you can also see the money that they have raised with their wins here. But what we're really looking for, of course, is the standings. Now, here's the thing that I think a lot of people are confused about. As you can see here, the New York Liberty, that's ATL. The New York Liberty only play every Eastern Conference team once, or I should say, for the sake of the Commissioner's Cup, or as we say in the Slack, right? The Cathy Cup. The Cathy Cup. In the Cathy Cup, they're only getting points towards the Cathy Cup for one win against each, or one game, against each Eastern Conference team. So now that Indiana has defeated New York, they immediately have, Brian, the advantage in the head-to-head, because as you can see, there are 3 teams with the worst record in the Commish Cup, the Cathy Cup in the East, and there are 3 teams with the best. You also have 2 teams that have very good point differential. Actually, Atlanta has the best point differential. Connecticut, girl. You a danger girl. But anyway.
Yeah.
But even then, what we're really looking at, Brian, are the head-to-heads. So the only way that the New York Liberty can get to the Commissioner's Cup is if they get by with a little help from their friends. Since they lost to Indiana, they lose that head-to-head, and Indiana, as you can see, is 3-1. Now, Indiana has yet to play Connecticut, but again, that minus 89.
Marina Mabry, can you do something for me?
Right? Listen, she got to do a lot of something. All right. So Indiana has yet to play Connecticut. We also have Atlanta playing New York. So if Indiana somehow loses to Connecticut, that would be favorable for the New York Liberty. But they still obviously have to get it done against Atlanta. But if that happens, the New York Liberty, that being Indiana loses to Connecticut, I do not see that happening. Stranger things, I suppose, but I do not see that happen.
Stephanie White, we're gonna have a conversation about you, friend.
Yeah. Oh man, Aloysius is being like, we know who the Kathy Cup favors. LOL, allegedly. Well, we shall see. So this is Albert. She did have an absolutely sensational game. She is an incredible talent. What happened on Saturday is fantastic for the league and much needed. I'm assuming you're talking about the Indiana game. I'm not gonna co-sign on that because I mean, no, I don't need. I feel like I don't need to co-sign on that. What I will say is that the weekend was great for the WNBA. Listen, I don't know if this is what you mean, but Caitlyn Clark winning is not the only way and is not even the best way, in my opinion, to grow the WNBA. I don't understand people who say they're sports fans, and I don't know if this is what Albert is doing, but I do know this is what people do about Caitlyn Clark, including that allegedly the WNBA was losing money because she was out with a quad strain, to the point where we were asking the league for comment about an injury. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? No, you don't need certain players to win. Like, I just don't subscribe to that, because if that's your business model, you're not getting longevity. You're not getting basketball fans. You're not getting basketball fans to become WNBA fans. You're not getting Joe Schmo off the street to be a WNBA fan. You're getting them to be a fan solely of one player. If you need that player to win at all costs, then you're not focused on a league, you're focused on an individual. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk about rivalries, I really honestly don't believe in like league fabricated rivalries. The beauty of sport is that you see people give their best at an elite level and scrap it out. And for that, if that's what you mean, Albert, and I think that's exactly what you mean, especially because you are saying you're a Liberty fan, that's good for the WNBA. But I want to separate it from the sensationalization sometimes that happens with a player like Caitlyn Clark.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get everyone's playing too tough defense, things like that. And I was like, no, like you want great players.
That's what you want.
Competition. Yeah. It's like, I think because a lot of it happened, a lot of the early struggles last year, people were so going overboard, especially like folks who have the largest platforms but weren't really around to watch players like a Ryan Howard, or players like a Dejanay Carrington, Tawana Bonner, folks like that who were really competitive in that way. And it's like, oh, why are they like this? And I'm like, guys, Alyssa Thomas is always like that. It's cool. Like, don't worry about it. It's fine about it. Yeah. So like now, I think it's gotten a little bit better, just broadly speaking, where it's like, okay, you guys, you had the bombast last year, like you got it out your system. Now it's the basketball, and now okay, you're here for the basketball. Oh, look at Fee. Fee is whooping tail up there. Like she was on CBS like early in the day. Like I missed it, but she had like 2 separate 12-0 runs in like 5 minutes. I'm like, dang, that's great. That's wild.
She was balling.
Yeah. And I think that, especially for a league, like everything, despite what some will tell you, like everything is going right for the league as far as like what they're doing to sort of like for engagement, sort of like having players get more shine. Like even during the game, like Aaliyah Boston had a couple of Adidas commercials, which were really adorable and nice. I was like, I like that a lot. Like stuff like that was really good. Like we've seen players get those branding deals, like Fee does Jordan brand. We wrote about in the newsletter Satsu being with Adidas, being sort of like the new face of their women's basketball sort of like cohort. Like you're really seeing things come together, and I think in an organic way. And I think sometimes people God, I hate, like, this is where I have to like really stop being on social media because like my brain is warping, and then I see faith in like it's like I want to pull my hair out, but it's only going to give me more gray hairs, and I'm like, I got enough already. I'm only 35, like I gotta cut it out. But like I think the point sometimes we forget is that like this is a league that Caitlyn Clark loves. Like she was a fan of this growing up, and I see a lot of like the people who have the loudest voices who claim to like not speak for her, but like they're like, oh, we're representing this, and I'm like, you're denigrating a thing she cares about, and by proxy, you're denigrating her because you're making her seem like, oh, you're beyond this. This thing is nothing. Why are you here? And oh, you should take Ice Cube's money and go join the big three in this platinum program.
That was wild. Yeah.
Like, hey, don't do that. Like, nah. Like, this is a league that is trend. It was starting to head in the right direction. Like, they were never like when you survive for this long, especially when Erica, you've talked about it a lot, like the sort of like blackout of the mid 2000s, the 2010s, where it's like the coverage really sort of like faded and folks had to really sort of get out the mud in that way. Like if you're able to survive that, and now you have a TV partner, frankly, that is actually looking to finally put you in good positions where you can be seen.
That part.
Yeah, like when you finally get it and when you survive the worst days imaginable when it comes to that, like teams folding, things like that, like you were starting to get there. And now you have it's almost like you have these sort of like accelerant. And I mean that in a completely complimentary
correct
sense. Like,
correct.
Yeah, like the foundation is here, is slowly sort of coming to the surface. And now you have that, okay, now we have the jump off point. And I think Indiana, to their credit, as far as like their social media team and everything like that, they've really done a good job of really sort of like sharing a lot of like programming, really tapping into various platforms, really doing things well. Like the first game of the season, I think she became like third all time in scoring, something like that. It was some record she set. And they had everything ready to roll. And I'm like, that's good. That's good business. That's smart. Folks who may not know DeWanna's backstory, her being a champion in Phoenix, her being such a good all-around player when she was in Connecticut. Her jersey was retired, and I think it was Auburn. And
Auburn, yep.
Yeah, like you
story really on CBSSports.com. Go check it out.
Yeah, you really get to sort of like tap into that, and I think teams like Indiana have done well with that attention in that regard. Like teams are human and they mess up and they sometimes sort of like have things fall through the cracks. But I think that we've really sort of seen a greater impetus on really sort of like highlighting the fun characters of the league. And I think for a lot of folks, if you're only in it for just, oh, I'm only here for this, and if this isn't here, I'm not gonna bother do anything, or I'm just gonna be like, oh, everything here is falling apart. I've asked the league for comment, and I'm like, nah, come on, dog. Or just like, oh, this game of Clark on CBS, it didn't set 1 billion records or whatever, but it was still a very good outing as far as like the attention given to the game and the sort of like fan interest in Chicago and from folks watching at home. If you're going to use that as a sort of like culture to bash the league, I'm like, nah, come on. Like, you know better than that. Like, you wouldn't do that for anybody else. You're only doing it here because you're trying to sort of like push something that no one wants you to do to begin with. Like, no one's asking you to like bash the other players on the team just because you're trying to sort of like make someone a savior when she doesn't want you to do that anyway. So it's like, what do you really like? What's your dysfunction, pal? Like, don't do that. And I think now that Clark is back and she's back with the focus on like, there's less sort of like, I think there's greater emphasis on the basketball this time, which I think
seems that way. Hopefully it'll stay that way.
Yeah, hopefully it stays that way. And there were a few like moments in the broadcast where Lobo's like, it's just a common foul, fans. I'm like, Beck, come on. Like,
well, maybe let's talk. No. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because the foul that people were crying for against Kelsey Mitchell, that wasn't a foul.
Yeah,
that wasn't a foul. That was a block, clean block. Like, of all of the fouls in the 2 games that we've seen against Indiana and New York, for that to be the one that the broadcast wanted to get up in arms about, I found ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
This is like, I feel like me sort of like being stuck with the men and the NBA finals and like foul discourse and everything, where I'm like, guys, like it's just hoop. Like no one's a foul merchant, like no one's baiting, no one's doing these things. It's like it's basketball.
Right. Because now Diana Taurasi has retired, so nobody does that anymore.
I do. There's a we will. I hope we get to this eventually, but I do. And there's a fun universe where Caitlyn Clark becomes a Diana Taurasi, like she becomes Diana Taurasi, not as far as like people being like considering her to GOAT or whatever, but being Diana Taurasi as far as like being a complete and total menace to the officials. That is a fun subplot I'm kind of here for, because DT, like DT, Skylar Diggins, and other great players are they're nice to like their teammates, but to the referees, nah.
Yeah, straight.
First play of the game.
Yeah, terrorizing.
Get over here, Eric Bruton. We're gonna have a chat, buddy.
Oh, and Albert chimed back in. I'm not talking about Indiana's victory, but rather the organic rivalry that's developing between New York and Indiana, which is very different. And this I'm here for. This I'm here for, because this is now appointment television, because the game without Leonie Fibish, close. The game without Fibish and JJ, not so close. So when these two teams are, and I haven't really talked, because I talked on CBS a lot. I was on We Need to Talk today again, but I wanted to save this for y'all, because I'm not going to make excuses. We knew JJ was going to be out. We definitely knew Leo was going to be out. But remember, I told y'all the reason I reserve the right to say that New York might not be the number one team is because of this period we're in now. I did not account for JJ's injury. I did not put that. I didn't put no hex. I ain't got none of that. In fact, I'm in a new space, so I've been cleansing it. So the vibes are good. Okay. What I'm talking about is I see the value of Leonie Fibish in the organization of this New York Liberty squad, which means that when you have her in the starting lineup, your rotations are different than when she's unavailable. Now, clearly, that's also the case with JJ, and to a heightened level. However, we've been very blessed for most of JJ's time here. She's been healthy enough to go, right? Especially last year. Even if we don't get 100% from JJ, I still think that what we have on the bench with Kennedy Burke, and especially in my estimation, I liked the minutes we saw from Niara Sabali. She's got to finish around the rim there, but that wasn't just a her problem. Sometimes your shots aren't going to fall. Yeah. I think maybe if she could find a little mid-range, I'd be very pleased with that, because I think it could be there for her. But the way that the New York Liberty is, this was my estimation from what we saw in the finals last year. Their organization is different when they're with Leo and when they're without Leo. Yeah. And so one loss doesn't mean that they're not going to be number one. One loss doesn't mean that they're going to go on a losing streak now. And it is just one loss. And I like this loss, and I like them being without Leo, because now other people are going to have to step up. They're going to get more minutes. They're going to have more film and that they can look out for themselves. And this will be a better organized New York Liberty squad and a deeper New York Liberty squad than they were last season by the time we get close to the playoff push.
Yeah. And something fun from practice today, Sabrina was talking to us. She mentioned that she was running with the second units a lot today in practice because they haven't had those reps together in that way. And I feel like every game is an opportunity to sort of like add something to the memory bank. And I think for this team, having those real reps with the lineup with Sab at guard and Izzy at the center, for example, like that's going to come in handy, because you never know when you might need to have Izzy Harrison run for like 12 minutes at a time. Like you never know when, like we saw it last year, Niara go out there, she did it, like being able to have Yeah.
You mentioned Izzy, and I think we talked about this, who we thought was going to be the X factor. I said Izzy, not the only one, but I did say Izzy, and I thought she would be deployed a little bit different, especially knowing that JJ might be out, having that size, but we also know Izzy, like Niara, unfortunately, like Kennedy Burke, not so much this season, but all three of those options have dealt with lower body injuries, which are tough at that post position to overcome if you're not 100%.
Yeah, it's such a tough balance now that we're doing 44 games and just like basketball is so much more spread out as compared to even what it was like 3 years ago. Like in 2022, like I would say that teams weren't as sort of like spaced out and sort of like stretching the boundaries of what it is to be on a basketball court in the way that they are in 2025. So just that sort of evolution, it's a small one, but it becomes colossal over time. And I think for just as far as managing minutes, Niara was 15 the start against Chicago. I want to say she was about like 15 again. I have to double check, but somewhere around there again.
Yeah.
So you're having Niara in those 15-minute totals each game. You're not really counting on her to go for like 25. I think if you did, it may be a little bit different because you have a big that can roll a little bit more assertively than Izzy Harrison, for an example. Izzy can be a little bit better on the boards than Niara, for example. It's a lot of like different sort of things coming together. And then it's, Indiana's going small. A team goes small. What do? Brianna Stewart, you can play center. You got it covered, big dog, and she will have it covered. Yeah. So
that's interesting because I liked the chess match that we saw, and this is like early chess match because talking about Indiana going small, I don't know that might be something that New York has to figure out. And that's where Sandy needs to give minutes, not just to, like we were talking about, the Izzy Harrisons or, Niara and Kennedy Burke, but where do you find more minutes for Maureen Johannes? And she did get minutes, but I want to put an asterisk next to Maureen. You do need to get, if a team is playing small ball on you, you can use Johannes. You need to get more from Tosh Cloud than you did. And that will happen. I don't think we're going to see a little bit of a lopsided performance like we did from Tosh Cloud. You need Beck Gardner to really step up. And then I think that's where you can use Jalen Sherrod and Markeisha Davis. Markeisha Davis in particular, or excuse me, those two in particular, Sherrod and Davis, because they're explosive. They can use speed in a way that you don't get anywhere else except for Tosh Cloud on this roster. But that's the next evolution of this New York Liberty squad. Last year, we didn't see Q and Sherrod get any play. We're seeing them get time. Rebecca Gardner is healthy. However, the next evolution has to be for Sandy Brondello to be able to answer with a small lineup of her own, specifically thinking of being explosive, getting out in transition, and attacking the basket. And that's what Q and Sherrod can give you. Now, I said I had an asterisk for Maureen Johannes. Maureen Johannes can, and this is where I will disagree, at least as of right now, respectfully, to the death, with people who say Maureen Johannes can be a starter on another WNBA team. You know what? Maybe this season I would say that with some caveats. However, she's not a starter for the New York Liberty squad right now because she's not, I wouldn't say a liability completely defensively, especially with what you have on this team unit, but she's not necessarily, if you need to get a stop and Johannes is on the court, that she can dig deep and get the stop. Not yet. I think she has a little bit of that in her, but she's got to figure that out to get on the court more, because we want her on the court for what she can do and how she can get that shot off quickly and with confidence. That's, for me, the next evolution for Maureen Johannes. It doesn't have to be, it's almost like what I've said about Rebecca Allen over the years. It doesn't have to, she's not going to be a Tosh Cloud overnight, right? And just even a little bit, even what Sabrina has been able to do, right? A little bit more grit defensively, I think gets her more minutes.
Yeah, I think now that you mention it, I'm taking a sort of like quick detour back to 2023 in the sense that one of the reasons the Liberty ultimately lost to Vegas was because they could pick on Sloot, Sab, and MJ couldn't get on the court because the aces would always sort of like really make things happen against her. Now, 2 years later, Sab is, I'd say, a competent defender. Like, I think people, if you have the perception of her as being the same defender as 2022, you kind of need to update your priors in that regard. Like, she's capable in that regard. Like, she's solid in what she does. She has good timing, things like that. Yep. So I think that can lead to possibly playing Marine a little bit more, because you know that you're not going to have, it's not like two sort of like blinking red alerts on the court at the same time defensively in that way. And I think for Marine, something she's talked about a few times over the years, that the coaching staff always sort of like pushes her to be a little bit more engaged in that and more active in that regard, because they see the potential she has. So I think that this stretch does give an opportunity for her to really sort of like carve out that role in that regard. Yeah. And I think that it is going to be interesting to sort of see how they run lineups with Leo gone for the rest of the month. Like, Kennedy started but didn't have the best game. It's like every good player has it down that it happens. So I kind of want to see what Sandy does, because Kennedy serves as Stewie's backup at the 4, and now that she's at the 3, how do you sort of like manage minutes there? Is it Kennedy has a short rotation, you sub in a Marine or Beck Gardner, and then when Stewie sits, you slot KB back in. So you still have that ball handling, you still have that driving ability at the rim, which is something this team always could use when it comes to getting offense, early offense in particular. So it'll be interesting to sort of see what they do over the next couple of weeks, because that's the thing about Leo, is that Leo does all of those things incredible. Like, she does all of those things well, and everyone's like, oh,
jack of all trades.
Yeah,
like, she's fantastic.
Yeah, everyone's so locked in on Brianna Stewart. It's like, I have to stop Brianna Stewart, and then it's, oh hey, that you're a 6'4" small forward with arms up to the sky, and someone who's like super jacked as a flex cam will let you know.
Oh
like,
my gosh,
she does all of those things well.
She's so good. She's so good.
Yeah, and the best part,
LA, Chicago, y'all fumbled the bag.
Yeah, and the best part is that teams like try to hide like their worst defenders on Leo, and the team is like, no, Leo, you got it. Go to work, dog. You got it. And That's it's it. Like there's no hiding points on this team when everything is locked in the way you want it to be. So I'm kind of curious to sort of see what it looks like for the next few weeks when she's gone. And this is the bad part about it. That's a good point right there. And the bad part about it for New York is that this is the part of the schedule where things get really annoying. Like, the competition is going to pick up. Luckily,
they're on the road.
Yeah, they're not. We won't see them here in person in New York until like July 3rd, I want to say. So they're out on the West Coast for the rest of the month. Like, they'll be out there for the next few weeks. They've got some tough challenges coming up starting, and I'm sure you guys will get to this on the next edition of Tempestashi Talk, a podcast for Seattle Storm fans on Sunday night. The Seattle Storm.
That's it. Yes, we will have another episode, and we will get into that. There's some great comments here that I want to get into. Defense plays the most attention to Stewie, but Sandy needs a counter for that. I would agree, and that's where, again, I would have wanted to see Natasha Cloud, when she was on the court, push to find shots for Sab. There were possessions where Sabrina, if she wasn't bringing up the ball, she hardly touched it, and she had 34 points.
Yeah, something interesting in watching it back, like after halftime, like the first 2 possessions were drives to the cup. Tosh got the layup, and I think Sab got like a little floater. Like you saw it there, but it just it didn't present itself as much the deeper the game got on.
Correct.
And one of the things I talked with Tosh about is that she tends to like really insist her way to the cup. Like, she's always able to sort of get downhill and get to the rim, and that in turn opens up the entire sort of like chessboard liberty. We didn't get much of that this game, and
nope.
I would say that. Yeah, like once JJ's back, I feel like that's going to sort of like unlock everything else, because JJ's passing in particular really sort of like creates opportunities too, because Stewie's tremendous cutter, Sab great off the ball, Tosh good off the ball, KB good off the ball too. So having your center who can draw an opposing big out, and they're going to see BG and Bree Jones tomorrow night, so they might be able to really sort of like draw them out in particular, get those easy lanes to the rim, and make stuff happen that way. That could open up a good amount of possibilities for them if everything goes right.
Absolutely. We're going to keep it moving, including, again, more comments here. I want to talk, we talked a little bit about the Commissioner's Cup. I want to talk about All-Star. All-Star voting is happening now. But I also want to let you know about Ally Bank. That's right. Ally Bank, in case you didn't know, is the official bank partner of the WNBA. That was announced this season. But they're also the official bank of us here at Black Rosie Media. I love using Ally Bank. Everything is super simple, super intuitive. And as you might have seen the Ally Bank commercials featuring our very own Brianna Stewart, Ally also has spending buckets. And that is how we here at Black Rosie Media are saving for the next big event for us, which is, yes, All-Star, yes, finals, but most in particular, we've got the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics coming up, and we will have more about that. Also, absolutely love that Ally has partnered with so many great women's sports leagues. I kept up with them in the first part because they are going to be spending equal amount of their marketing dollars on women's sports as they do in men's sports by 2027. As of last year, already at a 45-55 split. Also, all of this fantastic programming that we're getting from the four-letter network. Yeah, that's a partnership with Ally. If you don't trust me, I'll drop the links in Slack. You can look it up. So become a partner with us and with Ally. Because they're doing right by women's sports, the WNBA, and the trusted bank of us here at Black Rosie Media. I'll make sure to drop a link if you want to use our referral link as we move forward. All right, Brian, there was a comment here, and I want to address it. It was talked about a lot, and it's from our friend Tulip. I know it's late for you, Tulip. Thanks so much for joining. Didn't like Stewie and Brondello smiling every time Cece scored, like the match was fixed. Why is Stewie guarding her anyway? We talked about why Stewie was guarding her. I liked that, actually. I think there were some overcorrections, and the rest of the defense didn't really support that. We already kind of talked about it. But listen, game recognized game, man. And one of them three-pointers in particular from Cece was savage.
Look, I mean, I feel like we've all been there when you played great defense and someone jays you anyway, and it's like, damn, I played good defense and this went in anyway. Like, you can't help but laugh. And
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and the fact that it was like 7 seconds on the clock, and Stewie was she was talking to us about it. She's like, I was playing her to her left because I know she wanted to go to her left. And then she pulls it anyway, and it's like, wait, what? How did that happen? And then it's like, and Caitlyn's like, she's like, it's like, it's very much like it's like your kid, sibling, so like really get whatever on you, and it's like, damn, I can't even be mad because that was so fly. And then,
exactly. And it's like, you know, the young siblings like, ooh, you thought you had me. I loved it. I personally loved it. You want to talk about what's good for the game? What's good for the game is Caitlyn Clark having those moments instead of everyone sensationalizing all the other ish that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like that for me was hella cool. And she earned every little bit of it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're a basketball fan, how do you not mess with Caitlyn Clark? Because like she's savage, bruh. She's a savage, and I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for it. Of the elk, as you said, of like a Diana Taurasi, of the elk of, you know, a freaking Sky Diggins. Man, because Stewie doesn't play that game. At least not on the court. She never shows that. Now, she will try to get somebody teched up, as she did in this game. But otherwise, like Stewie, if she talks her mess, she don't let the camera see it, you know?
Yeah, on that third, it was when she hit the 3 threes in a row. On the third one, when Sophie had the idea to bring the ball up the court and try to initiate a handoff, like right at the baseline, and everyone in the building and home is like, "Give her the ball! What are you doing?" And then, luckily, Damaris Dantas knew the assignment, got it to her little screen, and then that thing went right up. Like, that's the moment. Like, you gotta really sort of like feed it in that way. And I think for the one that she hit over Stewie, it's like, dang, I can't do nothing with that. And then she hit another one, like Sabrina closed out on a really good, like no airspace, got the contest on time, and it still went up from like the same distance. It's like, hold on, like what? Like you were out for like 3 weeks. What is like? How did you do that? Like, huh?
Nasty. It's nasty work. And you know, the New York Liberty and the Indiana Fever talked a lot about forcing Caitlyn Clark to the left. Sabrina actually talked about it. And the fact that this is why, like, I think the first game was raw for both teams. This game, a little bit refined, but still not perfect for either team. But the fact that Stephanie White said, "Oh, y'all telling us what you gonna do? Yeah. I know what y'all think. She's out with a quad strain. She might not be playing games, but she's still in the lab."
Yeah.
Caitlyn Clark was ready for that. The Indiana Fever was ready for that. Yes, you don't have your big dog JJ. No Leo. We've already talked about that. Let's put that to the side. I'm talking about when you got what you got to work with for the night, where it was an afternoon game, but y'all don't understand what I'm saying. Man, come on. You got like that was good basketball.
Yeah.
That was a good basketball game.
Yeah.
It really was.
And ultimately, like good games on a channel where everyone can sort of watch it and not having it be on ABC, having it be the marquee game of the day. Like we got a superstar performance up top with Fee against the Sparks on CBS, and we have 2 great superstar performances on ABC against a team
solid
that a lot of like there's that attention that New York and Indiana both bring to the game. So you got tremendous efforts all around, and there's still an appetite for even more. So when these teams play again, which is really a fascinating schedule quirk, because the next time we see Indiana around these parts is going to be mid-July.
I was going to say,
yeah,
they bookends All-Star, which is wild.
Yeah, so it's going to be like a weird mini playoff preview in a sense where you see the same team twice. So the adjustment.
And those are in New York, right?
Yeah, both here.
Which is also, like, scheduling wise is also wild. Like, you know that New York players and Indy players are going to be at All-Star. Why would you give the 2 games in Indiana early instead of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need a button. I do have my mixer. I don't use it as much, but I'm going to have to get just the Satu voice of her saying Kathy. Just like I'm going to get a Kathy button. Like, come on, Kathy, what are you doing? Do you mean to tell me that the big networks care if that game is in Indiana versus New York of all places? Also, shout out to Golden State, who's pulling more fans than either one of those teams right now, if we keeping it a buck. I'm just saying. And I love it. I love that for Kayla Thornton. We're going to talk about her in a minute, I promise. But like, come on. Like, what are we doing?
I also, for your button, can you have it say, that's not what a commissioner should do?
That's not what a commissioner should do. That's hilarious. I mean, I guess you could say, if we're keeping it a buck, and I don't mean to throw any strays to that NBA team that plays in Brooklyn that used to be from New Jersey, but the odds that there would be NBA finals in Brooklyn versus Indiana, maybe that has something to do with it. I'm just saying. But we know they're not going to be playing games in July. I'm just saying. But, whatever. Cool. Tight. I mean, I don't know about that life. I'm really not throwing shade because I've never really, not more than like 5 minutes, I've never rooted for an NBA team in New York ever in my life. So I can't really I'm not trying to hurt no feelings, I promise. I'm just stating facts are facts. I don't understand. I don't understand. What does 34 points by Sabrina Ionescu do for the Liberty?
Okay. Let me see if I can take a swing at this.
Okay. Right. You go on. You go on.
All right. I'll see if I could sort of cook up a little bit here. I will say the 34, it came in a lot of different ways because I think
sure did. She was almost 50, 40, 90.
Yeah. Yeah, like that part I think is really solid. And I feel like for Sab, the drives were really impressive to me. Like getting to the cup. Like when she the first play of the game, like Boston gets her at the rim. Like she gets it with a little hesitation dribble. It's nice little mid-range fade away from 10 feet out. Like that part, being able to just tap into different aspects of her game is so meaningful. And similar to how we were talking about with Caitlyn, where you need to use the whole court as a star player. Sabrina has talked about that in the past too. She talked about it with Christina on her pod a few months back, where she wants to use the mid-range area. She wants to get the entire court open to her and utilize in that way. It really allows her to be more dangerous because if you, as a defender, no, okay, she's only gonna stay. She's only gonna stay at the 3-point line, and if she's inside the line, she's only coming to the rim. It makes your job a little bit less challenging. So now you can, as a player like Sab, you can use the entire court because they have to respect you everywhere. And I think for Sabrina, this game in particular showed she always can carry an offense, like she's done it before. Like that part's not new. But I do like the fact that she's more insistent about getting to the cup. She's really able to really sort of go up against different sorts of defenses. And even on a day where they're down their engine MVP at center and JJ, she can still sort of carry the offense and sort of help them go on a run because they got down by 16 and then they made a push to get to 3. They couldn't get it over the top. But the fact that you're able to do it is meaningful. And I think similar to what she was talking about. Yeah, and she was talking to us today about just working with different lineup combinations. I feel like that part is going to matter a lot too, because some the best world is you have 2 of the big 3 on the court at all times and in minutes that matter. And sometimes that may not be possible due to foul trouble, days off. Yep, that's a good point. I think that sometimes we think I would say Sab is an all W first team player at this point. She does those things well. And is, I would say,
34 points in a game where Caitlyn Clark scores 32, just a casual second team all WNBA.
Yeah.
Just casually second team all WNBA. That's a reference from last year, y'all, when she got second team. And even Becky Hammond says she should have gotten first team, which I agree with. And I did have her as first team for me last year.
Yeah. And I will say Sabrina is comfortably a top 10 player in the WNBA these days. Yeah. So I think that being able to get at it in so many different ways, right before the game against Chicago, she had it cooking too. She's able to really sort of space things out. And I know there's been discourse about Stewie's 3-point shooting, but she does everything else well, so it doesn't matter that much. So if Stewie isn't making those threes, you know who can make all those threes? Sabrina Ionescu.
But you got to get Sabrina the ball. You got to get her the ball. And if you get it to her where she can step into it, even better. That's why I called out Natasha Cloud the way that I did. Wasn't just her, but again, she's our lead guard. When you have someone that's eking and keeping you in a game, because if I feel confident if they had fed Sabrina a little bit more consistency, they could have gotten that game. Would they have won the game? I don't know. There was just a little bit of an edge that was missing, if I'm being honest. Just a little bit. It wasn't if you don't watch this team a lot, you wouldn't notice it, but clearly we do. And it just was, you know what I'm saying? That killer instinct that we had seen them find in other games just wasn't there.
Yeah, I wrote
again, you've got 2 of your killers out, so that's not surprising. And it's it's not, I don't want to say, I mean, yes, it is disappointing. I'm not going to lie, but I don't want to overstate the disappointment. It's that's disappointing. And then you move on, Yeah, or it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's something to circle. It's a little bit more than, I'm going to keep an eye on this because I'm y'all should be able to do this. I think that's why I'm not let's, it's not the end of the world. Y'all should be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointing and I'm gonna move on. Y'all will fix it for next time.
Yeah. Like I put in my notebook for the game that they couldn't get out in transition. And to a player, they're always telling us, hey, when we get out on the run, we become so dangerous and impossible. And the fact that they couldn't get that done, and the few times they did, Indiana did a really good job of getting back on defense. Like there was one play where Stewie
ready.
Lay up and Caitlyn stripped her and forced it out of bounds off of her quadricep. So that's I'm like, okay, those few times you did get out and run, Indiana was prepared for it, which is good effort on their part, and they deserve credit for that. So now for New York, it's like, can you keep pressing the issue in that way going forward? So I kind of like this.
Yeah, I like this Liberty math. Hold on, I'm gonna read this out loud just in case anyone's not on the screen. Albert's saying Albert Jimenez. Let's go, mi gente. Okay, if the Fever cannot stop Sabrina when Jones is not on the floor, then they will also be unable to stop her when Jones is on the floor. It's that simple. I feel like can we coin a new term, Albert? Let us know in the chat if you're okay with this. But did you just drop some Liberty math? Liberty math says if Sab is going to get 34 when Jones ain't there, then Sab is definitely going to get 34 and then some when Jones is there, because of all the things that you said earlier, Brian. What Jonquel Jones innately does, I've been saying this on a lot, especially over on CBS, like when you have Jonquel Jones, that is one of your best three-point shooters, now can take a very good guard like Tina Charles off the dribble from the perimeter. When she did that, I feel like I keep talking about it because it's actually wild. Your center is taking people off the dribble. Like, that's insane to me. Like, beating people off the dribble. I love it. Not in the paint, because you just drop the shoulder and then bam, she's there. From the 3-point line, I was like, girl, you on another level, man. You on another level. That's crazy. But yeah, I love what Albert is saying. Feeling confident. There's clean up the things. It'll get done. I do want to, because I know I trashed NBA, but there is a team from Oklahoma that's playing. And why that matters is because they have a free, I'm pointing this way because that's where I'll be walking soon, but they have a free watch party and I get to sit on a baseball outfield, watching NBA for free. So yeah, I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna go do that in like 15 minutes. I gotta peace out, y'all. Say again.
What's the temperature out there today in Oklahoma?
The temperature, so the low is gonna be like 70.
I'm jealous. As soon as you said the lowest 70, I'm like, damn it! Like it's been so awful up here the past few days. Like,
yeah, it's been overcast. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all right. It's been overcast, but we get to sit on the outfield. I got my nice little spot in left center field. Then they show the game on the Jumbotron, all the and it's a minor league stadium, so all the concessions are open, but minor league concession prices, that's different than major league concession prices. You feel me? Yeah, some of y'all know. And they still honor like I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's like $2 hot dogs, $2 beers if there's a game on those days. Then they use the Tuesday, Thursday prices. I'm telling you, this thing is tight. This is so not the point of this podcast, but I just wanted to share with y'all because I'm hella excited. I love basketball. I love baseball. And I get to join the two forces, even though none of my teams are playing. I get to join the two forces for free. For free? Yeah. Come on.
That's so
okay. Deep. So you're doing it right. You're doing it right. Seems like this Liberty team is constructed for JJ and Sabrina. Jingle, jangle. Jangle, jangle. Done told y'all. Don't be surprised if this is Stewie's last year with them, in my honest opinion. I mean, anything's possible. We know she's signing 1-year contracts. I don't think so. Listen, I've said it before. Y'all have to listen to her on A Touch More. Stewie's next level, I've been alluding to this, but Stewie's next level is to be a Sue Bird to someone else. What do I mean by that? Stewie learned the pro game. She learned how to be a pro from Sue Bird. And it was more than 3 years. How many years did they play together?
16, 17, 18, 20, 21. About 6. Because
I was gonna say like 5. I was gonna say 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything could happen, and I think that there's more to get from that Stewie Sab partnership. Stewie, the options should be, and I've been saying this for a while, the options offensively should be JJ and Sabrina, 100%. Stewie is going to be your just solid. She's like the what am I trying to say? She's the top shelf version of Leo. She's you feel it? She's the luxury version of Leo.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
Gives us everything. Oh, Caitlyn Clark is scoring. Stewie, go guard her. Mm-hmm. Also, food for thought. If JJ, assuming JJ still didn't play, but Leo was in that game, do you think Stewie guards CC, or do they put Leo on CC?
I think, because we didn't I went to watch back some of the first game and like Caitlyn's sort of shot attempts. I don't think there was much Leo on her before she got hurt.
Leo got hurt, so that we don't have a comp. Yeah. But this is what I'm saying, and the reason I think maybe you put Leo on Sabrina instead of Stewie is for what I said that I didn't like defensively when Stewie was on her. Stewie on the one-on-one, great. However, the rotations and the rim protection was off when Stewie was guarding Caitlyn Clark and she was able to facilitate. So if you have Leo, then you keep Stewie closer to the paint is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I just had a thought. When we see when we see this match begin in July, Leo will be back, presumably. I'm kind of, because like Stewie is so much, she's excellent everywhere, but she's like an off-ball demon. Like, she might be the sort of best off-ball help defender I've seen in basketball ever, like men or women. Like, she does that so well. I think that something that Liberty were kind of doing right was like Sabrina in particular was like timing the double teams on Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, like, so good. I love that you mentioned that earlier because that was very noticeable. She did a great job.
Yeah, having Stewie be that person who's making things hard for AB in the post, or someone who's providing extra help on Caitlyn in that way, I feel like that part is so cool. And I think also for Indiana, the player that you can sort of like, I guess play off the court might be a little bit strong, but someone you could be like, okay, if you're shooting, I'm good. Like, you could shoot all day. It's Natasha Howard. Like, because like there was one possession where Tosh had Caitlyn flashing open to her on the side, but she missed it. So she went with a fadeaway that missed. So it's like, okay, if Breanna Stewart can help off of her and she can jam everything else up in that way, it allows the defense to be really exciting and more intriguing in that regard. And I want to stay on that for a quick second. I think for Stewart,
I don't know if you have a player like Breanna Stewart and she isn't your first option, ? That's kind of bonkers to me. That's what you're reacting to.
Yeah, I want to stay on that for a quick second, only because I think, I was talking about it with a friend of mine on Twitter, the Everything app, a few days ago. Like, Stewie, I think as far as like, don't read too much into field goal attempts as far as like optionality and things like that. She still makes this offense work in a really 100%. Big way. Like, she is she's a tremendous cutter off the ball. Like, there are like 2 possessions a game where she just beats someone backdoor, Saber, JJ hits her for an easy layup, and it's right there. And I think also, I would say if you're concerned about that, whenever a game is close late, the natural hierarchy plays itself out in certain regards, where it's like, okay, we know if it's okay, Golden State has us reeling right now. What do we need to do to sort of like slow down? Give it to Breanna Stewart. She'll make something happen. Oh, this is a really tight game. What do I do? Have Stewie do something, and she does it really well. So I think looking at shot distribution might not tell the full story as to how they deem her importance on offense, because she does everything. Like, she multiplies everything for this team. Like, she does like initiates offense, can bring them to court, like fours can't really keep up with her in that way. Like she does all of those things well, and there are so many different buttons to press on this group that I think is super meaningful. And I think as far as just looking at what the field goal attempt distribution is, I think for this team, it's like a tremendous band that has so many great bass players or whatever on it. It's like everyone's gonna get fed.
Or the Foo Fighters who have like 5 different guitarists.
Yeah. Like everyone's gonna get fed, and everyone's gonna get those moments to really sort of like shine and ball out in that way. So I think for Aloysius, Cheryl Reeve will hang up the phone and threaten us if we ever tried that, and that's like
Collier for Stewie for that trade, please, James Brown.
Look, I feel like Cheryl Reeve has had enough of New York business for the rest of her life at this point. I feel like anyone tries to call her phone with some trades, and she's like, "How dare you?"
I mean, free agency.
And Cheryl, and Cheryl just from across the water, like she will drive from New Jersey and be like, "Hey, what are you doing, buddy?"
Listen, I don't know. That's crazy. All right. So yeah, I think Stewie, she's invaluable. It's hard to measure her impact. She's evolving, but I'm not worried about her 3-point shooting. I was saying in the Slack, she's coming off of an injury. I'm not worried about her not always, as it was said, who said that? Okay, Al Page here, 89. Doesn't always have to be the first option, but clutch time, last 5 minutes, we know, like you said, Miesemann, I've been saying this for years. If we get Miesemann to New York, I Germany, Belgium, like just give it all to me. Thank you.
She's back tomorrow.
Oh, if JJ doesn't return. Oh, we're not, this Miesemann's not happening. First of all, I've said this multiple times before. Miesemann's not coming this season. Like, that would shock me. She's not coming this season, and she's definitely not coming now when we got basketball being played in Europe. That ain't happening. Miesemann overall to New York, would love to see it.
Yeah.
But, and also, what salary cap, who? Well, there's no NBA. It's like, or excuse me, MLB, where it's like, oh, salary cap is suggested, and you just take the fine because you're a team in New York and you can afford it. That doesn't exist. That salary cap is real in the WNBA. So that's not happening.
If you're like $1 over, Kathy's going to have a van pull up to your house and be like, where did you think you got that money from?
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Also, people pulling up in vans is a little triggering at these days, so we gotta be careful. Fair enough. I appreciate you. Especially non-melanated people coming out of vans. I don't trust that.
Even better point. You're right on that.
Listen, all right. I already told y'all I got a ballpark to go to. But what I want to do is, because we do know, if you haven't already started your voting, All-Star voting is open. I think it was double yesterday on Sundays. Is that when they do?
Yeah.
Votes count for double. So make sure you get your votes in. And also let us know in the comments, either live now, got 2 minutes to get it done, but especially in the chat on YouTube. You can still comment under the video on YouTube. Let us know, who are your picks, Liberty or otherwise, for WNBA All-Star. Black Rosie Media has a vote once again this year, so I will be very transparent through the process, especially with our Slack community. If you are not a member of our Slack community, make sure you read our newsletter every Tuesday and Thursday, because the link is always there. So if you need to find the link, you can find it there. I also drop it in the chat like I'm about to do now. But Brian, let the good folks know, what do you have cooking up in the weeks to come?
Newsletter coming out tomorrow. Got a lot of got some goodies there. Got the second edition coming out later this week. I've got video from practice that's going to be posted tomorrow on the local W's YouTube channel. 2 games at Barclays Center this week, so I will be on hand. Got some pre and post game goodies coming, and I'm not always there when you call, but I'm always on time.
I love this, like leaning. I can't do that anymore. My camera's so far away and it's high up. I'm still working new headquarters for Black Rosie Media, so we're still working on some things. But I love it. So many great things. If y'all are not already following Brian, make sure you handle that on the immediate. And as Brian said, for Black Rosie Media, we have why is this not letting me live my life? I'm trying to do too many things. That's what it is. We have the newsletter coming up. Great stuff there. Also, shout out to Angelica Rodriguez, who helps edit the newsletter. We've also got some stuff coming up for women's hockey. PWHL draft is later this month. So we've got that coming up at Black Rosie Media. I already told you we are confirmed. We are going to have a vote for not just All-Star, but for end of season awards. Because if y'all didn't know, Black Rosie Media is considered an accredited national media member when it comes to the WNBA. So yes, even then, that's why we have a podcast for New York Liberty fans. That's this one, Gotta Get Up. And then we also have Tempestagi Talk. And we get you with everything in between. As far as for me and my contributions, you can catch me over at cbssports.com on the editorial side, aka where I write things about the WNBA and women's basketball. You can also find me on CBS Sports HQ every once in a while, talking live on our 24/7 streaming channel. And make sure you go watch the next episode of We Need to Talk Now, where I give Stud Buds a little shout out. We talk about the New York Liberty and where they stand in the greatest WNBA teams of all time. That was a really interesting conversation. This New York Liberty squad, that is. And we also have a really great interview with someone from the Black Women's Soccer Player Collective. I feel like I jumbled their acronym, but either way, it's a great conversation. They're celebrating Juneteenth with some really great activations, specifically in Houston and Chicago, is what we were talking about. So make sure you check that all out. But hey, there's a MNBA game tonight. Go check that out if it is your vibe. And either way, you already know Aloysius. Oh, I knew Aloysius knew what time it was. I was like, we can't get out of here until we do the wave. Hey, be well, be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will catch you on the next episode of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. For Brian Fleurantin, I'm Erica L. Ayala, and we will see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody. Don't forget, let us know who you think is an all-star for this year. Bye.